Hello again, welcome back to the channel. Glad you could join me. Today I wanted to talk about The Stainless Steel Rat Gets Drafted. It's the second book chronologically in the Stainless Steel Rat series, but it's not the second book in the printed order, published order. If you haven't seen my first review of A Stainless Steel Rat is Born, basically Harry Harrison, who wrote the series, started the books and then decided to go back and explore the origin of Slippery Jim Degrees. And that's where we get A Stainless Steel Rat is Born, The Stainless Steel Rat Gets Drafted, and The Stainless Steel Rat Sings the Blues. I'm reading that third one right now. I found an omnibus edition that had basically those first three in order. So I don't want to get into too much spoiler details for A Stainless Steel Rat is Born. At the end of A Stainless Steel Rat is Born, he gets out of the predicament he's in and is able to resolve what's going on there. And from there, he is actually captured by... it's kind of like the United Government, the Federation, basically. There's kind of a loose federation of the planets and things that make sure that everyone is towing the line and whatnot. But each planet kind of is left to their own devices, as long as you aren't doing something that is infringing on someone else. That's when the League steps in. Well, he gets captured because he was somewhere that he wasn't supposed to be, and he gets sent back to prison. And while he's in prison, he finds out that one of the people that was on the spaceship that got him in the situation in the first place was also in prison. And he didn't really have a beef with her. Instead, he had a beef with the captain of that ship because it was really his actions, not hers. And when he found out that what had happened is that the captain of the ship had sold her out too, he figured, well, if I can get in touch with her, and her name is Bibbs, that they would be able to maybe work together at least a little bit to figure out where this guy was, where the captain of the ship was, so that Jim could take his revenge on him. Turns out the captain had a dual identity. He was also known as General Zenor on another planet. And this planet was being watched by the League because they were a rather warlike planet and didn't like the League in what they felt was interfering in what they decided for themselves. But I mean, the planet was ridiculous. There was like a division in the planet between the haves and kind of the have-nots. If you were a have, you lived on this other continent, and it was highly militaristic, and you had to follow all these rules and stuff. And if you were on the other side of the planet, things weren't quite as nice, but they were more open, and there was more freedom and stuff. Well, the militaristic part of the world was very paranoid. They were paranoid to the hilt that the League was spying on them. So much so that no League spy was actually able to spy on them. They were so hyper vigilant and focused on maintaining their autonomy that anything that was deemed slightly off was punishable by death, which to me, I don't know. You'd think that something would happen there, but there are examples of that going on in our own society that don't immediately result in revolution. So Jim sneaks in. He gets co-opted by the League to be their spy. while he's trying to exact his revenge on this captain, at that point, General Zenor. Anyway, they do end up invading another planet, and part of the problem, I shouldn't say part of the problem, let me walk back just a little bit. We're introduced to individual, I can't even remember what it's called now, but it's an entirely pacifistic planet, who have gotten rid of all concepts of money, and there's a huge problem with, in my mind, with any society like that. And maybe this is just the fact that I have looked at different governmental systems around the world, different monetary, different economic systems, and I'm by no means an expert, but systems of economics that don't reward individuals tend not to produce things because there's no incentive for innovation, for inventiveness. And the thing is that this country, even though we're not consumeristic, there was still a capitalist form of economic system. They just didn't label it that way, which is kind of weird, which to me didn't make sense. It's like, well, actually you are a capitalistic society. No, we're not. Actually, you are, because you still have a monetary system. You're just a very much a meritocratic system where you succeed by your own efforts, which is basically what capitalism is. Yes, there are haves and have-nots in capitalist system, just as in this society, if you worked harder than somebody else, you had more than that other person. So it was still a capitalist system, even though they're like, no, we're not capitalists. Yeah, actually you are. Anyway, that being said, I like Slippery Jim Degrees. I like the character. There's a little bit of, in my opinion, in these books, there's just maybe a little bit too much Deus Ex Machina mixed in there, and there's just a little bit of the Gary Stew in the form of Slippery Jim Degrees. Yes, he does go through hardships, but it's like when he gets drafted, he shows up at basic training, and the drill instructor is trying to actually make people collapse. And so he orders them to do 50 push-ups. And Jim's like cranking out the push-ups, and he's like, I normally start my day with 100 push-ups. And so most people tap out before they get to the 50, but there's still a couple that are there. And so he's like, okay, do another 50. So he does 50 more. And then he gets into situations where he fights, and he's like, oh, by the way, I'm a master master in hand-to-hand combat, which is fine. I don't mind that. But there's a lot of these situations where Jim almost gets out of the situation maybe a little too easily. And maybe that's why he earns the nickname of Slippery Jim Degrees, because he is able to weasel out of those situations. And I say weasel, but he's more, as he says, he's a stainless steel rat. Anyway, the humor's still there. It's still an enjoyable read. There are a couple of things where you feel a little bit preached to, in my opinion. And maybe that's just because I'm hypersensitive right now to kind of what's going on politically. And maybe there was nothing to it when Harry Harrison wrote it, and now I'm seeing it through my lens now. And because of that, I'm feeling that there's a message when there really wasn't. But I don't know. That may be up for you to decide. let me know if you've read The Stainless Steel Rat Gets Drafted. Let me know what your thoughts were on it. As always, like, share, subscribe, all that other stuff. And until next time, enjoy what you're reading.